Hey guys, we are on worksheet number 6. Worksheet number 6, video 6. The one that reads, Miss Hilt saw an iPod for sale. Okay, Miss Hilt saw an iPod for sale. The price tag said the iPod cost $128, but a sign announced that it was on sale for 35% off. How much would it cost after the discount? Okay, so if it's on sale, that means there's a discount. So the discount amount is 35% of the original cost. 35% of the original cost. Okay, and so the original cost is $128, and we said it's 35% of that amount, which we know almost all the time in math, 30 something percent of means multiply. And if we were going to multiply, it doesn't make sense to try and multiply it times a percent, but let's change that to a decimal. Right now, we have 35%. So the implied decimal is here. If we're changing from a percentage to a decimal, we would move 2 times because percents are based on 100, and that's 2 multiples of 10, so we would move 2 times to turn it back to a decimal. So then we would have 128 times 0.35. Okay, and then we would just multiply as usual. 5 times 8 is 40, carry the 4. 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 4 that we carried is 14, carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 1, plus the 1 that 5 times 1 is 5, plus the 1 we carried is 6. And then I'm going to skip down here to avoid the words. Don't forget we need a placeholder 0. We're working with the second number in the second row, so we need to be under the second number. And we've already used these carryovers. 3 times 8 is 24, carry the 2. 3 times 2 is 6, plus the 2 that we carried is 8. And 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, and then we add our 2 rows together. 0 plus 0 is 0. 4 plus 4 is 8. 6 plus 8 is 14, carry our 1. And 3 plus the 1 we carried is 4. Okay, now, you're going to see probably on the test, you would see 4,480, but we were multiplying times a decimal number, which means you count how many places are behind the decimal in the whole problem. There weren't any in that one, but there were 1, 2 in this one, so that's how many it will be in the answer, 1, 2. And that makes sense because we're dealing with money, so it's $44.80. Now, you're probably also going to see this on there. This is the amount of the discount. Okay, so this is the amount of the discount. So we have to be really careful in our problem. They didn't ask me how much the discount was. They asked me how much would the iPod cost after the discount. So if it started at $128 and it was discounted $44.80, and we can make this dollars, doesn't change the value. Okay, so we would take what it started as, we would subtract the discount to get how much it would cost after the discount. So 0 minus 0 is 0. We can't take 8 from 0, but we can borrow, and that will become a 7. We borrowed a multiple of 10, so this will be 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. We line up those decimals when we're subtracting. 7 minus 4 is 3. We can't take 4 from 2, so we would have to borrow. We borrowed a multiple of 10, so now we have 12. 12 minus 4 is 8. And nothing minus nothing is nothing. So the amount after the discount is $83.20. So just be careful, make sure you see what they're asking you for. You had to calculate the discount, but then they wanted to know the price after the discount. Okay, on the next one. Miss Hilt wants to buy a television that regularly costs $600. If the sale price was 20% off the regular price, what was the sale price? Okay, so again, we're taking our $600 and we want to know what they took off. So they took off 20% of the regular price. And we just talked about we know we're going to be multiplying. And we also talked about it doesn't make sense to be able to multiply times a percentage, so we turn it into a decimal. The decimal is implied at the end. We move 1 2 times. So as a decimal, it is 0.20 or 20%. Now, we know that if it has a 0 at the end, that we could take that off. But since we're dealing in it, let's see. If we take that off, it doesn't change the value. So that'll keep us from having to do a whole row of zeros for no reason. Okay? So we have 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 6 is 12. Now, we were multiplying, you'll see this answer on there, 1200, but we were multiplying by a decimal number. See how many are behind the decimal in the whole problem, and it's just the 1, so it would just be 1 here. So since we're dealing in money, it's not just 120, it's $120. So $120. Now this time they actually did just ask if the sale price was 20% off, what was the sale price? So, are we finished yet? Nope, we're not finished yet. It wants to know what was the sale price. So that means we have to take the original price and subtract out the sale or the percentage that they took off. Okay, so we have 0 minus 0 is 0. We can't take 2 from 0, but we can borrow a whole one. That would be 1 multiple of 10. 10 minus 2 is 8, and 5 minus 1 is 4. So the sale price would be $480. Okay, on number 3. The recipe Miss Hilt is using calls for 2 1/3 cups of flour. She only has a container that holds 1/3 of a cup. How many times should she fill the container with flour? Okay. The recipe calls for 2 1/3 cups, but she can only split it up as 1/3. So we need to know how many times that she would have to do this. So there's a couple of different ways we could look at this. We could say that she's taking the 2 1/3 and she's dividing it up by thirds. When we're dividing fractions, the first thing we would need to do is turn our mixed number into an improper fraction. And if you remember from previous worksheets, we multiply diagonally and add the numerator. So we would have 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. When we're dividing decimals, we keep the first fraction, we change the sign to the opposite, and then we flip the second fraction. So we keep, change, flip. The flip is called the reciprocal. All right, and then we multiply straight across. 7 times 3 is 21. 3 times 1 is 3. And it doesn't make sense to say that she has 21 thirds. So we would, just like we would read top to bottom, 21 divided by 3 is 7. So she would have to fill that cup 7 times. Okay, that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is we could add third cups, 1/3 cups, until we get up to 2 1/3. So if we have 1/3 and we add 1/3, then we have 2/3. If we add another third, we have 3/3. So there's 1 cup. If we add another third, we would have 4/3, which is 1 1/3 cups. If we added another third of a cup, we would have 5/3, which is 1 2/3. If we have another third, we have 6/3, which is equal to 2. And if we add another third, we end up with 7/3, which is equal to 2 1/3. So we finally made it to our 2 1/3, and we had to fill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cups. So either way, you're going to get to 7. So you could either use repeated addition, or you can divide by